Mic check 1 2. Mic check 1 2. Mic check 1 2 3.
Check, 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 check.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. I'm Dave Crouch, and this is Policy Talks that's brought to you each month by Williamson, Inc., our local Chamber of Commerce. We're delighted to have a bright-eyed audience here at Columbia State this morning on a beautiful morning, coincidentally, and looking forward to a beautiful day today. So, and it should be an interesting day here. We've also got a TV audience coming to us by WCTV, our Comcast Channel 3, and also available on YouTube now, and as well as the radio audience on WAKM, AM 950. So we welcome all of you. Hope you'll enjoy the content this morning, and hopefully we'll actually maybe ask a question or two here in the room with us. I've got an introduction to make first this morning. Well, let me thank our panelists first. I'm getting my agenda mixed up. These guys make time for this every month, and it's a huge commitment for, if you know what kind of schedules they keep during legislative session. But we've got Senator Jack Johnson, our Senate Majority Leader, and also representing, and I've always double check, and I didn't write it down, 27, District 27. Jake, I think I've got this in seniority order. No, Todd, I'll never get all this right.
A lot to keep up with.
Todd Warner from District 92 down Chapel Hill in the southern part of our county here. Jake McCalman in District 63, the eastern part of Williamson County in general, and in District 65, Lee Reeves. You're the rookie, I guess, today. So,
behave, Junior.
And Lee represents, in general, the west side of Williamson County, Fairview and the western part of Franklin. Glad to have y'all with us. Appreciate your taking the time to be here. We've got another new face here this morning that I want to introduce to you. Garnet, come up here. Garnet Thurman is our new Cal McDowell. He is now the, let me get this right, Director of Government and Community Relations for Williamson, Inc., and is coming to us with a long resume of political experience, mostly from the state of Kentucky, it looks like. But we'll let you come down here and show us how they do it up there as well. But worked as a senior policy consultant with the Kentucky School Boards Association, and also worked with the Kentucky Public Service Commission and served in legislative leadership roles for the Kentucky House of Representatives. I want you to explain that. And but apparently is a graduate of Belmont University, since he's the vice president and president-elect of the Belmont Alumni Association. So you've spent some time in Middle Tennessee before. Tell us a little bit more about yourself, Garnet.
Okay, quickly, born and raised in Frankfort, Kentucky, and my wife and I are both actually Belmont graduates, as is our son. We graduated in 1992. Our son graduated from Belmont in December of 2023. So we've spent a lot of time here in Davidson, Williamson, surrounding counties. First came out of college, returned to Frankfort from Belmont, became news director for a local radio station before I went to work for the Kentucky House of Representatives as a senior advisor to the Republican caucus. Then became legislative liaison for the Kentucky Public Service Commission, the utility regulation board, if you will, in Kentucky. Joined the cabinet, the parent cabinet for that agency for the last 2 years of Governor Ernie Fletcher's administration. Legislative director for the State Environmental and Public Protection Cabinet, which oversaw horse racing, coal mining, banking, insurance, a little bit of everything. And left that administration, and for the last 12 years, senior policy consultant for the Kentucky School Boards Association, where I served as lead policy writer for the 171 school districts based on anything that Congress or the legislature did involving school policy, human resources, employment, those types of things. Moved here a year and a half ago when my wife took a job in Nashville. I was fully remote, so it didn't matter where we lived. Came here a year and a half ago, and been here since. And 4 weeks ago, started this new journey as Government Community Relations for Williamson, Inc. So look forward to working with you all. Have met many of you. Will continue to do that over the next few weeks. Excited about today's policy talks. Thank you, sir.
Make a point to get to know Garnet and tell him how we do things down here and make sure he does it right. So we've another big news item that came out yesterday that particularly affects Williamson County, I think. And our Lieutenant Governor, Randy McNally from Oak Ridge, announced that he will not be running for re-election this fall or next fall. And to many people in the political world, the heir apparent is our Senator Jack Johnson. And Jack, I think there is some competition for the job, and that will develop over the next year or so. But tell us a little bit about your experience with Lieutenant Governor, and tell us what the Lieutenant Governor actually does.
Well, thank you. Good morning, everyone. Always good to be with you. Yeah, it's bittersweet. Speaker McNally, Speaker of the Senate, Lieutenant Governor. Tennessee is unusual. We're the only state in the nation that our Lieutenant Governor is elected by the Senate. Our Lieutenant Governor is a member of the Senate, is elected to be Speaker of the Senate, just as there is a Speaker of the House. And then they also serve in the capacity of Lieutenant Governor. Ron Ramsey, Speaker McNally's predecessor, had a great way of explaining it. Someone said, "I don't understand. You're Lieutenant Governor, you're Speaker of the Senate. What does that mean?" He said, "Well, it's pretty easy. As far as being Lieutenant Governor," he said, "the first thing I do every morning is I get up and I call the governor and I say, 'Are you feeling okay?'" And the governor says, "Yeah, I feel great. Everything's good. Just been to the doctor, got a clean bill of health." He says, "I hang up. I'm done being Lieutenant Governor. Then I go be Speaker of the Senate." So Randy McNally is a dear friend. He served the state for 48 years. He was, or will have served for 48 years. He was elected in 1978 to the House of Representatives, and is just such a widely respected individual, particularly whenever it comes to fiscal matters. Prior to being Speaker of he served in the House for, I can't remember how long, a few terms, and then he ran for the Senate and got elected there. But for many, many years, when Democrats were in control of the legislature, which they were for roughly 100 years, he was the first vice chairman of the Finance Committee. And the chair of the Finance Committee was Douglas Henry from Davidson County, who was a Democrat but was very, very fiscally conservative. And the two of them had a great relationship and a great partnership. And we all owe a real debt of gratitude to them over many years of keeping our state, in a very, very strong fiscal position. As Republicans gained the majority, he became the chairman of the Finance Committee, and Doug Henry became the first vice chair. And so on the Senate side, there's a real legacy there of stewardship, of tax dollars, and we're the least indebted state in America per capita. We're the second lowest tax state, and we have a thriving economy. All that we can talk more about that, but we owe him a real debt of gratitude. He's a great friend, but he's 82 and he's in good health. But I think he just decided it was time to go back. He's from Oak Ridge, Anderson County, and he decided to go back and spend time with his wife and his grandkids and great-grandkids.
Now, as I understand it, the Lieutenant Governor makes committee appointments for the Senate, which in many ways determines what's actually going to pass during that year and what might not pass during that year. Is that not right?
Well, you're right that the Speaker of the Senate, in their role as Speaker, all committee chairs, committee assignments are made by the Speaker of the Senate. I can tell you, as a member of Senate leadership, as the majority leader, he confers with leadership. He doesn't just go off into a room and close the door and come out. He's very collaborative, and I think that's really important. We've got a lot of talent in the Senate, a lot of really, really smart people and good people that have various interests And so you try to figure all of that out and figure the best place for people to serve. But yes, the Speaker of the Senate, in terms of affecting the outcome of legislation, I don't know that that's necessarily you think, I really want this bill to pass, so I've got to put these people on that committee. You want good, thoughtful people on committees, particularly those that may have a background or an experience. For example, we have a state and local government committee that handles everything that affects municipalities and county commissions. Well, it's no surprise that a lot of the folks that serve on that committee are former county commissioners or former mayors or aldermen. We have a health committee, and we have a physical therapist in the Senate. We've got 2 medical doctors. We have 4 pharmacists. And so obviously you think about people who have a background and an expertise in that. It's less about determining the final outcome of legislation as it is about having people that will listen to all sides of an issue, got a lot of complicated, controversial stuff, and hopefully land at the right decision.
As long as I've been doing this, you would think I would know the answer to this question, but I don't. Who decides which bills have to go through which committees?
That is the clerk of the Senate, who is also appointed by the Speaker. Both the House and Senate have clerks. They have chief clerk, deputy clerks. And so when a bill is filed, it's filed with the clerk. The clerk looks at the bill, the subject matter of the bill, and then refers that bill to the appropriate standing committee, is what we call it, the committee of jurisdiction. So if it's a transportation bill dealing with roads and bridges and all, obviously it's going to go to the transportation committee. If it's a health-related bill, it'll go to the health committee and so forth. And there are some bills that they get dual referred, that because they kind of address a couple of different subject matters, and so sometimes the clerk will say it's got to go to this committee and that one. And then sometimes there are bills that it's kind of on the bubble, and so the clerk makes that determination.
Since our last policy talks, the governor's state of the state was given on, I think, February 2nd. And just not anything remarkable that we hadn't heard before, I don't think, came out of that speech. But there was nothing, according to the media, about immigration in that speech, which was sort of interesting. But maybe the big line item was the expansion of the education scholarships. And let's give a couple of the other guys an opportunity to weigh in here. Lee, Jake, and Todd, what do you see the possibility of that additional $155 million making it through the House?
Well, I sit on the Education Committee. He's proposed doubling the number of education scholarships available from 20,000 to 40,000. I know that's a topic of conversation in both chambers, and I think we will see an expansion. I don't know if it'll be 40,000 or not. Of course, we've got some expenses that we didn't have last year in terms of expanding that program and setting it up. So the governor has identified that as a priority. I think it'll happen. At least that's my sense of it. Whether it's 40 or not, I don't know. We'll find out.
In the Senate, is that the same?
Yeah, like any other proposal, it'll go through committee. It'll go to the Finance Committee. I do want to really applaud Governor Lee yet again, a record amount of money that has been proposed and to be appropriated for K-12 education in the state of Tennessee, $339 million. Another thing that's really important that we had set a goal to do a few years ago, when Governor Lee came into office, the minimum starting salary for a public school teacher in Tennessee was $35,000 a year. We set a goal by this coming fiscal year to get that to $50,000, and we are there. So we've raised the minimum starting salary for a public school teacher in the state of Tennessee from $35,000 to $50,000. Again, $339 million to fully funding the TISA formula, and so another significant investment in public education.
Now, there's some discussion, again, in the media about accountability for various things in the scholarship program. Lee, what do you think is going to happen there?
Well, I think what you're referring to there's several bills trying to unpack who receives scholarships and things like that. I think that I have the view of many in the House that parents are the number one accountability factor. I know that this year we had 20,000 scholarships available, and I can't remember how many, 40,000 parents applied for those scholarships, and was it 41?
On day one.
Oh, on day, yeah, on day one. Parents seem to be very happy with the program, and that's the main measure for me. We are trying to give parents the ability to make the best choice for their child, and I think many are taking advantage of that, whether it's their zoned public school, whether it's going to another public school within their county, or whether it's taking advantage of the Freedom Scholarships, or whether they homeschool. I think there's a lot of options out there, and parents are more and more in charge of that, and I think that's a good thing.
Jake, you've got kids in school, so what are you hearing out there among the parents you talk to?
Well, as a parent of 3 in Williamson County schools, we couldn't be happier with Williamson County schools. I've said it since before I got elected. I've always been a proponent of school choice, but at the end of the day, it's about the success of that student, whether it's through our great public schools here in Williamson, or if it's a private school, or if it's homeschool, to echo Lee's point. Whatever fits that child best is the avenue that should be taken.
Todd, you may have a little different viewpoint.
Yeah, Dave, of course, I was I was against the school vouchers when I first ran for office. It was before I was brought into Williamson County or redistricted into Williamson County. I served a very rural portion of Tennessee, and there was no private schools. So, a parent would basically have to travel an hour to get that kid to a private school, and it just wasn't a good idea. And, I think there's better ways that we could have maybe set this thing up. I'm all for school choice. I think I'm all for parents' rights. But what we're seeing, or I think what Tennesseans are wanting to see, is some transparency. They want to know how much of this money is going to students that was already going to private schools. They want to know who's getting the money. And one complaint I'm having from some people is that these private schools that's taking the voucher money has already started increasing tuition. And, I see that being a problem as we continue to expand these things. Another problem I heard this week from a constituent down in Marshall County with it is that, and I may need a little bit of help right here, is he had 2 kids in school. He received the voucher money, but because his kids are going to the classical Christian school, they did not meet the criteria to receive the voucher. So, I would have liked it. I think I could have got on board with it had we done something like, President Trump done. Of course, we don't have income tax here, give a tax rebate, but maybe we handed out a sales tax card to each family that wanted to send their kid to a private school and said, hey, you deduct this money from certain things, from clothes, from groceries, or whatnot, and done it that way. And that way these private schools don't really know who got the money, and they can't, start going up on their tuition. Just a thought, that I had.
Senator's viewpoint on the accountability, I guess, is the word for it.
Yeah, I think Lee nailed it. In terms of the surveys of parents who have utilized the scholarship, we haven't even finished the first academic year of this program. But the Department of Education does conduct surveys, and I think it's a 99% satisfaction rate with parents that are using the program, and that's important.
Rural health care access is important to maybe not so many people in Williamson County, but obviously if you're living out in the country, you don't want to be too far from health care. And there's a few things going on with that area, and I should have reviewed who's on which committee before today, and I just forgot to do it. Do we have anybody in the House on the health care? We usually have Joey Hensley to kind of give us a...
Not on the healthcare committee, but I will say that communities like Fairview have been looking for options out there, and they recently announced, I see Patty Carroll in the room, that they've got a standalone emergency room coming out to Fairview, and I know that a lot of the citizens out there are very excited about that, and we'll see more of that, I think, as a result of some of the efforts at the federal level and the things we're doing at the state to expand that program across the state.
I think there was some more money put in the budget to help the rural hospitals. Is that not correct, Jack?
Well, the Rural Health Transformation Act is a big topic of conversation right now. That's a program that was put in place by the federal government, is part of what's been referred to as the Big Beautiful Bill. It's $50 billion to be appropriated to states through grants to expand access to healthcare in rural areas. The Lee administration, Governor Lee and his team, they did apply. We were awarded in the first year $207 million. $100 million of it would go to each state on a non-competitive basis, and then you could apply for additional money based on a number of criteria. We were awarded an additional $107 million in the first year, and that's a good thing. We're having a lot of conversations about that, how that money can be spent, what strings are attached to it from the federal government. But at the end of the day, it is about shoring up healthcare access in some of our rural areas. Because you're right, we have great access to specialists and hospital and so forth, but a lot of our rural communities don't. A lot of our rural hospitals are struggling. The healthcare dynamics are changing, moving to more of a model where you have emergent care, the freestanding ER type things. So, because obviously, if you're in a car accident, you have a heart attack, a stroke, you need as quick access as you can to that emergency care. But for the last 30, 40 years, the specialists are congregating in the more urban areas. So it's exciting. More to come about that. We still have questions, I think, in the General Assembly about, because if you don't meet certain metrics, you can end up having some of that money clawed back by the federal government. So we want to know very clearly about what that criteria is.
I think there's a discussion of rolling back the certificate of need requirements for a hospital to expand, allowing nurse practitioners, I think it is, and maybe pharmacists to actually make give prescribed care. I don't know the exact
terminology. Well, yeah, so there are four, you're right, that was part of what the Trump administration is encouraging in order to get access to more care in some of the rural areas, to expand the scope of practice is what we refer to it as. So for nurse practitioners, mid-level providers, nurse practitioners, physicians, assistants, interestingly, dental hygienists are in there, as well as pharmacists. And in other states, some of that level of healthcare provider, they do have greater authority, greater autonomy, but we've had bills year after year after year. The nurse practitioners would like to have more practice authority. The doctors don't really want them to have additional practice authority. So, these conversations have been ongoing, but now we do have the introduction of this Rural Health Transformation Act from the federal government that's kind of encouraging more conversation about some of those things. So I can't tell you where it's going to land. A certificate of need is part of that as well. But again, that's been an ongoing conversation for a number of years. We have such an incredible hospital and health system, really, Williamson Health, here in Williamson County. A lot of hospitals would love to come in and build a hospital right next door and peel off some of that payer mix. Well, we have a very high-quality payer mix in Williamson County because of our affluence, and so a lot of folks would like to come here. So that certificate of need protection for Williamson Medical Center and Williamson Health has been really important. So we're going to be paying very close attention to how that plays out.
I won't spend too much time on this, but the governor was quite proud of what's going on in Memphis with law enforcement down there, and asked for 50 more state troopers to be hired, which most of them will probably go to the Memphis area. But then we'll get on to my favorite subject, which is roads. And the governor did, I've seen $425 million, I've heard $500 million additional money line item for roads. Jake, you're our transportation committee guy, right?
You know, I've never regretted more about requesting to be on that committee. No, I do sit on, and I'm happy to sit on the Transportation Committee. And the governor did propose an increased funding on his side. And in the General Assembly, particularly in the House, I can't speak for the Senate, but in the General Assembly, our Transportation Committee members, as I mentioned last time, we were tasked by Chairman Howell to come up with out-of-the-box creative thinking on new sources of income for road spending. So I've got a bill that's dealing with that this year. Something that was proposed to me is we have diesel exhaust fluid that sales tax is paid on it. There's no road tax paid on it, but possibly, you know, diverting some of that sales tax on DEF to go into our road funding too. So at this point, it's trying to find out, you know, where can we find 10 million here, 20 million there, 5 million to add in to take care of a lot of these smaller projects. I saw the article on news yesterday talking about the choice lanes as well. So that conversation. TDOT's doing something with I-24. I think that's happening this week, or next week. But yeah, road funding is a high priority within the General Assembly this year.
I-65 next on the choice lane discussion, or do we have to wait till I-24 gets done?
I do believe I-65 is next on the choice lane discussion, and I certainly hope it gets done quick because we all drive it every day.
The Tennessee Road Builders, Kent Starwald is here. The president, I never get his title right, something like that. Executive Vice President of the Tennessee Road Builders. Kent, stand up, please. I think I misunderstood you a while back when you told me that the road builders all of a sudden had decided that debt for roads in Tennessee was okay, but there is a condition to that. Tell us what that is.
So yeah, we would support bonding a road program if and only if there's a new dedicated funding source for it. So you can't, basically you can't use the existing revenues, which would be gas tax or vehicle registration fees, because if you use that, then you're just taking money out of the program. So if you're going to bond, you would need new revenues to come in to pay for that.
Okay. Gentlemen, you see any new revenue sources to pay for bonding on lots of new roads? Jack?
Well, we're pretty proud of the fact that we're one of 5 states in America that don't owe one dime on our roads right now. We have absolutely zero road debt. And we have other debt. We are the least indebted state per capita in America, but we have no debt on our roads. Jake mentioned the Choice Lanes project. We are very excited about that. And in a best case scenario, not only are we going to get additional capacity on some of our most congested thoroughfares in and around Tennessee, for us, Middle Tennessee, I-24, I-65 South, down here to Franklin. But if it works well, as it has worked in some other states, but that could also be revenue accretive back to the state. In other words, it could the proceeds from that could end up generating additional revenue. The governor did propose an additional $400 million one-time injection into the road fund and a $25 million line item recurring. And that's really, really important because we talk about one-time expenditures, non-recurring, and then we talk about baseline recurring, and there's a big difference there. So that will add to the $80 million that we redirected from the tire tax last year. So that means in just 2 legislative sessions, that's an additional $105 million recurring into the road fund. When you add it all up with what we did with the Transportation Modernization Act 3 years ago, what we did last year, we were right at about $5 billion additional money into the road fund. That's significant. And plus slightly over an additional, that's non-recurring, and then an additional slightly over $100 million recurring dollars.
I was just going to say one more thing on the choice lanes. I'm very excited about it. I moved here from Texas where I use those every day. In Georgia, the example that TDOT gave us was they had a $3 billion project, which is about what it would cost to do I-24, if I'm not mistaken, Kent. In Georgia, this company that built this road not only said we will build it with no state investment into it, we will also advance you $3 billion of that monetization that we think we're able to make on it. So on day one, that company wrote the state of Georgia a $6 billion check that went into their road funding. So there is opportunity there with these public-private partnerships.
There's your new funding source. So. One other question for you, Jake. Now, can they earmark money before you let it get through the Transportation Committee, the new budget for Williamson County, or particularly I-65 between here and Saturn Parkway?
I'll have to consult my crystal ball on that, Dave. No, it's obviously everything. It's at the discretion of finance, and what comes through with the governor's proposal and what the General Assembly is able to, how we're able to reconcile it. But stay tuned.
We certainly will. One other item in the governor's proposed budget that caught my eye, mainly because I've been deeply interested in artificial intelligence for the last several months. But the governor has asked for $50 million to address artificial intelligence for the state government, and $70 million for what they called an Edison update. I had no idea what Edison was, but I called a friend of mine who recently retired as the HR director for one of the state agencies. I said, "What is Edison?" And she said, "It's the lifeblood of state government. Everything that runs through the state government goes through Edison." And I went, "I've never heard of this before." And it turns out, though, after doing a little digging, that it is actually run by the Oracle Corporation, which is the big company moving to Nashville, and obviously a highly reputable company, and so should do an excellent job. But have any of y'all heard anything about the progress toward using AI in the state government?
Well, obviously, you said, Dave, you have a lot of interest in this. I think some people do. A lot of questions about AI and what it's going to mean. But I think we can all agree that it's going to create ways to generate efficiencies, whether it be in the private sector or the public sector, to save money and provide better service. That $50 million that you referenced, I think that's good. We need to have some money appropriated for the state to be able to look at ways that we might be able to utilize AI. But just like I think any private sector company that's out there right now, there's probably more questions than there are answers about how that's going to work. Obviously, concerns about privacy and things when you're dealing as we do in the public sector, and this would apply to any city or county, or certainly the state. We have to be stewards of taxpayer dollars. So there's a task force. The governor's established a task force along with the General Assembly to look into AI and how it can be helpful. But if you read about it, and I probably haven't read as much as you have, but there are folks that are saying we're not going to recognize a lot of things 5 years from now because of AI and what it's going to mean. So a lot of good from that. It's kind of scary too, as to where it's all going. But we wouldn't be doing our jobs if we didn't look into ways that we can appropriately and responsibly utilize AI to provide better service for our constituents.
It'd be hard to find a company that's more qualified to do it or get some of the other things they've got going on. So I think the state's in good hands there. Editorializing there, sorry. But one thing the governor didn't mention much, but it's being mentioned a lot in the media and by some of our representatives. I wish Representative Bullseye was here, but he's had to go make a living today. I think he's flying out to Phoenix to do a deposition. But the immigration laws that are being proposed about various ways to try to, looks like, help the federal government enforce the immigration laws of the U.S. One in particular requiring employers to show proof of not citizenship, but immigration status for everyone that they actually pay, not just employees, but I presume 1099 help as well. Todd, what will that do to the construction industry if they enforce that, if that were to pass?
Well, I think that anyone that's had any work done around their home or farm or, as you look up and down the highways of who's doing most of this construction work this day and time, you can tell that the labor is not from here. I mean, let's just be honest, it's not. And I think once, I'm for, support President Trump's agenda, support our leadership's agenda to try to fix this problem. But when I see a problem coming, if we go to running all these people out of a job, the next thing you know, they can't pay rent. And the next thing you know, they're turned to the streets. As you've seen what went on in Lebanon, one of our governor, the candidates running for governor, and our representative up there, which I get it. I wouldn't want it in my back door either. But, they turned away an ICE facility up there. And I guess my question is, what are we going to do?
Put them.
And I don't want them down in Marshall. We probably don't want them here in Williamson. So, I think there's some strategic planning that needs to be done, but I think it can be accomplished. But we also, and Kent can be one that can tell you, when you see this asphalt going down, you don't see many Americans on the back of them pavers and putting that hot asphalt down. And I mean, that's just the truth of the matter.
Jake, do y'all get any pushback from the construction industry on some of these things?
I haven't had anybody reach out to me.
Yeah, same. I mean, I sit on education and finance, and I don't have subject matter jurisdiction over most of those things. But I think there's a fairly wide agreement in Tennessee that we have to do something. That we've got about $1 billion of expenses connected with illegal aliens here in Tennessee. And that's through criminal enforcement, that's through education, that's through emergency health care. And I think that there's a pretty big realization amongst the leadership of the House and the Senate that we've got to do something. And the package of bills that was proposed a couple months ago, I think will get us a long way there. And I know that a couple of the things I've been talking about have been included in that, which is an illegal entry bill that has been adopted by leadership and is moving forward. A bill to encourage 287G, which is ICE cooperation primarily in our county jails so that they can better coordinate those pickups with ICE.
Explain that program a little.
Yeah, 287G is a series of different options. The most basic is a warrant service officer, which is a specialized person that has been trained to serve a warrant inside of a county jail versus letting somebody out of the jail after they've served their sentence and ICE then serving that warrant out in our communities. I think it's an important step. There's another training module that allows a local person to search the ICE database, the federal databases. And both of those things, I think, move the ball in the direction of making sure that Tennesseans are safe, that we prioritize Tennessee citizens. And I think it's important, we all worry about how much things cost. And I think this is a cost savings measure that we ought to really double down on.
We can talk about this for probably another 20, 30 minutes, but it's amazing how fast that clock moves when we're in this program. So
Time flies when you're having fun, Dave.
it just certainly does. And there's a couple things I do want to get to. One that Jack Johnson has been heavily involved in is the boring company's efforts to run tunnels from downtown Nashville out to the airport. Give us a little more inside information on that, Jack, and how that's coming and when we can ride from downtown Nashville to the airport, or at least all our tourist friends can do that so we can get to the airport.
It's very exciting, and the timing is really good because I think they started digging day before yesterday. I think on Wednesday the machine started turning. They're going in right just kind of on the northwest side of the Capitol, just off of James Robertson there. It's a state-owned parking lot, and they've been staging there for a while, the company has. Just to set the stage, the governor made the announcement back in July of last year that they had come to at least a tentative agreement with the boring company. They are currently operating in Las Vegas. They have about 4 miles of tunnels that are operational there. I've been in them on a couple of different occasions. I was out there 3 weeks ago, I guess, at the invitation of the boring company. I got a behind-the-scenes tour, all the safety operations, their command center, how it works. They've mapped out at where they are right now at full development, 68 miles of tunnels underneath Las Vegas going to the various resorts, and really transformational in terms of helping with traffic and things of that nature. So the initial project for Tennessee is what we're calling the Music City Loop, and it will be from downtown to the airport. You probably saw in the news, I think late last week maybe, the Airport Authority, the Nashville Airport Authority, unanimously approved a 40-year lease to have a terminal for the Music City Loop right there at the airport, just right outside the front door. And so they continue to improve the technology of this boring machine, and it's really fascinating. I'm not an engineer, but I got an up-close look and got to actually see it in action and how it operates. Right now, they can bore roughly a mile a month with one machine, and of course you can have two machines coming towards each other, and they'll meet. There was one machine in Tennessee now that just started digging. There's another one staged, ready to come to start building the second tunnel, because there'll be a tunnel coming each way. Obviously, they'll utilize Tesla electric vehicles. It's part of the Elon Musk family of companies. I advanced legislation out of our Commerce Committee this week that I'm sponsoring to set up the governing authority for anyone who would like to come to Tennessee and invest in a subterranean transit system. Right now, there's one company doing that, but there could be others in the future. So we I hope we'll pass this legislation. I believe we will. Setting up the governing board, it would include the Commissioner of Environment and Conservation, the Commissioner of Transportation, the Commissioner of Commerce and Insurance, and then the State Fire Marshal would all serve on this authority. And then each speaker would have 3 appointments, and then the governor would have 1 additional appointment. Of course, those cabinet-level positions are in the administration. So for the last roughly 6 months, it's been a lot of environmental permitting and studies and, all the safety stuff going into that, but they were granted their final permit just this week, early this week, and so they've started digging. So when it's fully built out, we will see. I know they certainly have plans to do more than just that loop to the airport, and we'll continue to monitor what's going on in Las Vegas, but it could be a really big deal for Tennessee.
Discussion about having a tunnel come to Cool Springs?
Yes, I've brought that up. Obviously, downtown Nashville is where you have the density and the traffic. I think that where it makes the most sense. I think they're looking. I don't want to speak for them, but they're obviously looking at a West End type of leg, if you will, out to Vanderbilt and maybe on down into Belmead or Green Hills, and we all know where the traffic is, right? And so, but that initial leg, it's an 8-mile leg. It will follow under Murfreesboro Road. Will be the pathway. That's a state-owned facility, and so the state has the authority and the right, the easement, to grant an easement subterranean. A lot of people ask about utilities. Well, they dig at about 30 to 40 feet below the surface, and that gets them below any utilities, electric lines, gas lines, water lines, any of that kind of stuff. It's amazing technology, and I also know from my visit out there that they hope within the next 12 to 18 months to get that technology improved to where they can do a mile a week. Now, I don't know if they'll hit that or not, but that gives you an idea of how incredible the technology is.
More horsepower, sounds like to me. But the 2 other things I'll touch on just briefly, but the governor just signed a one-time transfer law to allow our high school and junior high athletes to make a transfer to a school without sitting out a year, which I know if you've got kids in school, sometimes that's an issue. And Jack, we're out of time for too much. We'll come back to this in a minute. But also discussing a rollback of the 2018 bill that kind of limited this, or did not limit the suing of the state government, which has kind of been abused, it sounds like. If we have time, we'll get back to that in a minute. But I do want to give the audience an opportunity to ask questions. If any of you want to weigh in on any of these subjects or anything that we didn't touch on, I can always depend on Tom Lawrence. So if any of you, here's one.
Well,
Introduce yourself.
I'm Jim Peterson, best known as the husband of Ann Peterson Alderman. But first of all, on the vouchers, I presume that the great majority of parents who are asking for these vouchers are in Memphis or in Nashville. Is that an accurate assessment or not?
That's something I don't think we know. I stand to be corrected by one of our education members here, but there's been a couple bills to come through this time. I know one's been voted down, and I think Jody Barrett has another one that would create some transparency, so we would know where these folks that are getting these vouchers, what counties, maybe not necessarily who, but what areas of the state that the majority of them's coming from.
Thank you. I just have one other quick comment. On immigration, we desperately need for the United States Congress to pass some kind of comprehensive immigration law that deals with all the people that came across the border during the Biden administration and the different categories, some who've done very well and working, need to stay, and some, all the different categories. But I just want to make this comment and be interested to see what you say. We have no United States Congress. They're not doing anything, and very, very dysfunctional. So I don't know if you want to comment on that or not.
Yeah, feel free, gentlemen.
Yeah, you done a good job.
Patty Carroll, stand up for me. Tell me about your exciting announcement out in Fairview, and turn around. So the camera can
Wait,
see
come on, let's see.
shiny face.
Yes, we are thrilled. It has been a dream for a long time to get healthcare closer to home. We definitely had a need, and it was something that I worked on when I was elected official out in Fairview. So when I took the economic community development position, that's one of the first things I started on. So we went to everybody and anybody that would listen. So Ascension actually was the first person that's sat down, did a needs assessment in our community. They are actually going to bring a medical campus. They have partnered with Dixon Medical. So we are going to have specialty physicians out in our community, and it's going to be great. And there just was a news release this morning that HCA is also going to, so y'all are getting breaking news, they are also going to apply for a certificate of need. So it's going to get very interesting out there and see how this goes. We've never gone through this, but I guess the victory is people know that we have the need, and they are going to make sure that we have some kind of emergency care. So that's exciting news.
Great.
Thank you.
There you go. Tom Lawrence is famous in Williamson County for asking curveball questions. And he's smiling over here, got a little grin on his face, but what's your question?
You know what kind of grin it is. The next mayor of Williamson County is in the room. There's an alderman in the room. There are 2 county commissioners in the room. And these 4 guys are squarely in between all of them. UGB hadn't been brought up today. The county has wants more say-so. The Board of Mayor and Aldermen, two of them, four soon to come, they're all going to be on your door. And they're all going to be wanting something different. What are you going to do with them? You're going to send them home, say, handle it amongst yourselves? Or are you going to run to the floor and introduce legislation that will affect every county in Tennessee?
Just to editorialize here, I don't see Mary Smith in the audience. So,
I'm sorry, I thought I saw her.
but we've got one mayoral candidate here in the audience, and we hadn't had an election yet, but we certainly are happy to have all of them here, Andy Marshall being one of them, with us this morning. Gentlemen?
Well, thanks, Tom. We had 9 minutes to go.
Take your time, Jack. Take your time.
Yeah, we're talking about growth. UGB, the county passed a resolution in support of legislation that has been introduced. Senator Hensley has it. I believe Monty Fritz has it on the House side. That would statewide require agreement, if you will, from the county government whenever a municipality, I'm probably oversimplifying, but would require agreement from the county when a municipality wished to annex out into the unincorporated county. We take what our county commission says very seriously. It was passed by a 2/3 or in excess of a 2/3 majority vote. So that's something we take very seriously. But we also care deeply about what our cities say. And I know that so far, the city of Franklin has passed a resolution, I believe unanimously, in opposition to that legislation. And I know that other municipalities in Williamson County are also going to pass resolutions or intend to introduce and pass resolutions in opposition. I'd be happy to yield to some of our county and city folks that are here. I know that Tom's shaking his head, he says no. Over the last several years, there's been a lot of collaboration between the cities in Williamson County and the county to set up a mechanism by which they can talk about these types of things and where it's appropriate to annex and expand the jurisdiction of a municipality. I will tell you, I don't think that legislation that has been introduced, regardless of how one feels about it in Williamson County, has a strong likelihood of passing. Because again, it would be statewide application. And so it wouldn't just apply to Williamson County, it would affect all 95 counties and every city and every county. So I'll yield to the House guys in terms of the likelihood or how strongly they feel. At the end of the day, we have a lot of growth and people have strong feelings about it. And I encourage our county and our city folks to continue to try to sit down and work together. We'll see what happens with these other municipalities regarding this legislation, Tom, that you referenced. But I can tell you, I'm speaking for me. If I represent 5 municipalities, cities. I don't represent Spring Hill, but I think they plan to introduce a resolution as well. And obviously, I represent Williamson County. And if there's disagreement between my local governments, then I'm probably going to encourage them to try to come to some type of resolution and have agreement, and then we'll be happy to proceed accordingly.
And I'll just add on to that. I think that back in 2024, an agreement was struck and between all the municipalities and the county and has served as a model really in the state for cooperation between those various entities from the county to the cities. And I would encourage that continue so that there is agreement. And if something needs to change legislatively, I agree with Jack. I would like to see a unified voice to do that.
And I'll chime in and just echo what Lee and Jack have said as well. I mean, I would want the counties and the cities to come together. Just on this particular piece of legislation, I'm not generally in favor of introducing another layer of government into a process. So if anything's going to be done, I want the municipalities and the county to be in unison on it.
think we have time to get into the rollback of that 2018 law that would probably take 5 minutes to explain. But if you want to ask Jack about it, he's well qualified to talk about it. Just want to make sure we thank everybody that makes this show happen every month. Again, these guys are some of the busiest people on the planet, and for them to take an hour and come here and talk to us and to get to know you and give you some FaceTime with them is huge. And I just want to thank you guys for making that time. Columbia State rolls out the red carpet for us. Dr. Shane Hall and Mary Beth, and is Bob still around? I didn't see him this morning, but anyway, a couple of Bobs make it all happen, and just love the facility and appreciate your sharing it with us. Creed Henderson and his crew on WCTV make us look much better than we should on TV. And Tom and the crew over at AM 950 also have to be thanked tremendously. Derby Jones standing over here in the corner. You need to bring Cassie with you, Derby. She's cute, much nicer looking than you are. But Derby and Cassie at the
That's why you married her,
Herald,
Dave.
are very helpful in getting the word out and helping us recap for the community what's going on here. We also get a little help from AT&T. I had to check to make sure we still have the same sponsors, but and Vanderbilt University Medical Center to kind of make everything come together. And maybe the most important lady, I think she's somewhere else. Is she in the room? Hiding behind Chuck Barber. Okay. Terry Wimke with the Line Leadership Group, that is the local franchisee for McDonald's, brings our coffee and makes sure we have that here every time we meet. And Terry, we appreciate you making that happen. And the chamber team that makes all this come together, led by Matt Largent. Appreciate your leadership on that, Matt. And I think this month Jenna was the quarterback, and she brought it all together. From here on, I think Garnett is the key man in charge, and look forward to getting to know him. And a couple other guys in the back are kind of overseeing, making sure everything gets done. So we appreciate all y'all do. And just hope that everyone will be back here on the 27th of March, because we're going to do it again and try to dig in a little deeper to what happens between now and then. Thank you very much. We're going to go ahead and wind it up actually a minute early. So if y'all want to call it a day, we will. Thank you.